Hello everyone, this is going to be a community lap analysis for Kevin, one of our channel members, GR86 at Indianapolis, the road course. I've watched the lap and I have some things to point out. Firstly, turn 1, it goes like this. Braking, coasting a bit and then getting the exit. The problem with this approach is that the car is very slow at the mid part of the corner because we're braking too much on entry. So we are over slowing the car on entry. We're braking right now with 95% pressure, something like that. And right now the car feels very, very slow. You have to drop the brakes very sharply and you can't reapply the brakes. Right now you're dropping the brakes and you're far away from the apex, very far away. So if you go on power right now, the car will understeer. So you're not able to properly get on power. This means that the car is very slow at this point in time, and we're losing on entry at this point. But we're gonna lose a bit of time on exit as well, and in the mid part of the corner, just because we're not able to put the power down nice and confidently, like a straight vertical line. You have to do this, coast, and then slowly building it up. So in order to fix this, you just have to change the brake distribution, the brake force distribution. So let's call it like that. Brake force distribution. Meaning, instead of using this approach that you're doing right now, so going to 100, braking and then trailing like this, you want to brake at the same time, or maybe just a slightly bit earlier, brake less and trail brake for longer into the corner. So because you're gonna brake a bit less, the car will get the proper speed into the corner. However, if you find yourself that the car overshoots the corner, what you're gonna try is to downshift more quickly. Let's say you're downshifting at this rhythm on the red shape. On the orange shape, you're gonna downshift just a bit quicker, like this, so that you will be able to stop the car in time with the downshifts to get the help of the downshifts. And this difference in brake pressure right here is going to give you two advantages. First, speed, but also a bit more cornering grip because you're not cooking the tires on entry. So you'll be able to actually take the corner with more speed and it will feel like you're having more grip. It will feel like it's a different setup, but you'll be able to do it because you won't cook the tires. Because the exit should look like this. It should be like almost a straight vertical line. It shouldn't take too much to build up, which happens right now in the lap. So be mindful of that. We want to blend the inputs as soon as possible, not to have this gap in between them. Now for this corner, we're preparing it too much with this lift. You can go wider here because for the next one, you're already getting all the way to the inside to cut it because the racing line goes like this. So there's no point in doing this big lift right here to get this curb. You can drift a bit away from it and that's going to be perfectly fine. You still have to do the lift, but minimize it. This was way too big. So we want to keep the minimum speed up, and it's okay that the car will track out to this part, to the right side, very close to this curbing, because anyways the car is going there. So there's no point in covering a longer line, going like this, like going to the left so we can bring it to the right. You can carry a bit more speed by minimizing this lift. Now, obviously, you can't do like a 3% lift, 5% lift, but instead of having this 100, let's say, um, so 150 and then back to 100, let's try to have something like 160 back to 100. So gaining a bit with this lift right here under the throttle. It's gonna give you like half a tenth or maybe even 1/10 alone. Going into the next corner, You can use a bit more track here. So you can push the car just a bit more, but it wasn't bad. Just try to use a bit more track. Trailing to this corner, let's see. And again, on the exit, this lift was way too big. Because right now, this is basically a flat. And you don't have to be very... you don't want to be in the center of the track. Because the car can handle this bump right here with the suspension. And because it can handle it, you can use a bit more the track. So right now, it all starts from here. This wasn't bad, but still you can gain a bit more by using a bit more track. And here you can go earlier on throttle, so the car will arrive very closely to this white line, and then you will still be able to take those two corners. Because right now, look, you still have margin here. So this tells us that you could have track out a bit wider before and still get this line. Just a bit more of track usage, but the braking was good. There, the only thing that we need to change is to go back on power earlier. Now, into this corner, track usage is very good right here. But here we overshoot the corner. So it's very important here to stay a bit tighter, because right now, this one, we really need to prepare it, and this wasn't enough. So what you want to do is to brake a bit earlier right here. Also notice something. The moment that you downshift to first, it's a bit harder to see on this video that I'm seeing now on YouTube, but the car leaves some trails on the tarmac, the tires. That was too much of the brakes, too much of the braking. So you braked very high and hold it a lot just because you didn't brake early enough. So here you just have to brake a bit earlier. That's going to be it. Going into this corner, let's see. A bit more of the track usage and a bit more of turning later for this one. We turn a bit too early, and because of the early apex, the car gets pushed a bit more towards the center. So we want to have the car just a tiny bit more towards the left side. So instead of having the car positioned like this, we want it more like this. Let's say, like this. Just a bit more, because this will give you a superior line going into this corner right here. This is a this leads to a very long straight. So preparing this corner by sacrificing the previous one is going to yield a bit more lap time. So sacrificing a bit this one, you're very early on throttle right here. So you just had to wait a bit more and then go on power, so the fronts would have had a bit more grip. You can do it in two ways. Either you're being a bit later on power, so the car properly rotates, or you're gonna turn in a bit later for this corner. Just to open up this one, which was good. This is the throttle application that we're looking for. A straight forward, without hesitations. Going now into the next braking zone. Braking looked good, but notice that you dropped the brakes. And the moment that you drop the brakes, the car understeered. You could use a bit more of this curb. You really want to have the tires on this curb. Again, you want to have the tires like this. These ones to be here instead. So you really want to use this curb, the suspension can handle it, and take a narrower line by not dropping the brakes this quickly and trailing into the corner. Because right now you get a bit too wide. You still reposition it, but you're traveling a longer distance and you're losing a bit of time. This wasn't bad, but this small drop in throttle, just because now it's a huge straight, up until turn one, this is a huge straight. So this drop that we're seeing in throttle is going to make a lot of difference. You really want in this corner, once you go on power, to stay on power. And you go off power because you realize the car is going to understeer. The car is going to understeer because we didn't brake hard enough. We needed to brake just a bit harder to make the front point and add that weight on the fronts, or to turn just a bit later. So we are cutting this a bit later so that we will have space on the exit without using this drop. So whenever you're gonna have a corner that leads to a big straight, this is the goal. Even if the throttle buildup can take a while, the goal will be to always go up without dropping. So if you find yourself doing something like this under throttle, and then you go back, a lot of time was lost here. Just because it's a huge straight, this can mean maybe 2/10 on a big straight, or let's call it 1/10. But it will add up lap after lap. So you really need to prepare those corners. But in short, the lap wasn't bad. Just a few things here and there. I'm sure you will improve it a lot. And I hope this was helpful for more people that are watching this. That's it. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I will be posting more of this. Join my Discord, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.